Greetings builders, how are you doing these first days of Crucible? I hope everyone is doing great and almost prepared for that sweet endgame. Today I have a very special video for you, and that's because you guys were responsible for it. As you know, on the last week I released 12 starter builds for Crucible and asked you guys on the community tab about your favorites. Now, over 10,000 votes later, here are the results. The first 4 builds to battle for your votes were the Arctotem's Hierophant, the Righteous Fire Juggernaut, the Raging Spirit's Guardian, and the Toxic Rain Raider. As you can see, the Righteous Fire rose victorious, followed by the Toxic Rain Raider. For those who are not familiar, let's now talk about the winner, the Righteous Fire Juggernaut with the Marauder class. Here you can use all the tankings and life regeneration from the Juggernaut to easily sustain the Righteous Fire damage and just walk your way through the endgame. To list the pros of this build, I'll have to start with how comfortable and smooth this gameplay is. As soon as you get this build sustaining Righteous Fire, you start clearing maps without even noticing. This character is also super tanky and it would be hard to die even if you try to. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that the boss damage isn't great. But don't worry, you kill map bosses easily even on a low budget, but Guardians and Pinnacle bosses will take longer than usual if you don't invest a few Divine Orbs. Another issue is that the leveling is a little bit complicated since we use a spell as a Marauder, but if you follow closely the steps on the leveling section from the complete guides, you won't have a problem. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 105 chaos, but if you follow the crafting tips on the complete guide, this can get a lot cheaper. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, mostly on your survivability. You need 2 mandatory unique items for this build. The first are the Legacy of Fury boots. They scorch nearby enemies and cause them to explode for an amazing clear speed. Those boots might be a little bit expensive during the first days of a new league, but don't worry, you'll be fine playing without them until the price drops. The other mandatory unique is the Immortal Flash belt. This one grants a huge amount of life regeneration and even a great armor buff. For clear speed, I'll give this build 10 out of 10. As mentioned before, as soon as this build is complete, you just walk and watch every enemy burn only because of your presence. This means not stopping for casting and saving a lot of time while farming. The boss damage on the other hand is not that great. I would give it just 7 out of 10 because it would need investment to do a decent DPS on Pinnacle bosses and Guardians. But don't worry, this build still kills map bosses easily on a low budget. For the survivability, this build surely has 10 out of 10. As you can see on the POB, this build gets over 100,000 armor, 2,000 life regeneration per second, over 87% of all elemental resistance, and even over 50% chance to block spell damage. Look at the effective HP, it goes beyond 200,000. Even if you try to die, it wouldn't be easy. Next, you guys had to choose between the Flicker Strike Slayer, Essence Drain Occultist, Venom Gyre That Eye, and Explosive Arrow Champion. And on that one, Flicker Strike was chosen as the best, followed closely by the Venom Gyre. And as the winner, he deserves its space. So now let's talk about the Flicker Strike Slayer with the Duelist class. This build uses Terminus S to sustain the frenzy charges needed for you to keep flickering. It's a great and simple Flicker Strike build for beginners. To list the pros of this build, I will have to say the same things that I already said about other Flicker builds. It's insanely fast, super cool, have an awesome boss damage, and now it also has instant life reach for more survivability. Now to list the cons, I have to say that you are always very close to enemies, which puts you in a vulnerable position. Another issue is that you have little control over your character, making it hard on bosses where you need to mind your position or attack the right enemy. As for budget, I can only estimate it for now, but normally you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 80 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 120 chaos, and for easily completing our Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. You only need 1 mandatory unique item for this build, and it is of course the Terminus S sword that keeps your frenzy charges always up even while flickering. For clear speed, this build is surely a 10 out of 10, and I don't need to say anything else, just take a look at the gameplay and you have to agree with me. The boss damage is great and deserves 9 out of 10. This build easily can deal many millions of damage per second, it's just great to kill bosses like that. Now for the survivability, I'll only give 8 out of 10. Even though this build still has over 100,000 effective HP because of high armor, evasion and spell suppression, I had to take 2 points out for the same reason I did with the Cyclone Slayer and the Infernal Flicker Strike. Since you're always very close to enemies, you're always in a vulnerable position. Finally, you guys had these awesome 4 builds to choose from. The Infernal Flicker Strike Ascendant, the Fire Cyclone Berserker, the Spark Inquisitor and the Super Cyclone Slayer. And as you can see, the Slayer was again chosen as the best one, but now with the Super Cyclone build. And now let's talk about the final winner, the Super Cyclone Slayer with the Duelist class. This build turns you into a walking blender with a huge area of effect, damage, speed and now even instant reach. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its clear speed. It's just amazing to be always moving and massacring all the poor enemies on the way. The boss damage is also amazing. Once the build is done, you are going to kill even the biggest bosses in seconds. Above all of that, this build is also very simple to put together. It doesn't need any mandatory unique item. Now to list the cons, I would point a few important issues and I'd like to ask you to pay close attention here. You see, this build has a great survivability once it's done, but when you're leveling your character you need to pace your progression because you're always very close to enemies. If you are not prepared, you are going to die. So take the extra time to pick up a few more levels before progressing to a high tier content. Another useful tip about your survivability is how to deal with stuns. On this build you get stun immunity with cluster jewels, but not everyone can afford them right away. In that case, while you don't have your cluster jewels, do this simple trick of picking those evasion nodes and this mastery. Believe me, it helps a lot. As for budget, I can only estimate it for now, but normally you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 90 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps you need to invest around 115 chaos, and for easily completing your atlas I recommend investing around 6 divines. For clear speed I would give it 10 out of 10. Cyclone never stops moving and you can farm your maps without needing to stop for casting or anything like that. It's just awesome and very satisfying. The boss damage is great and deserves 9 out of 10. Prepare yourself to destroy even the biggest bosses in just a few seconds. Now for the survivability I'll only give 8 out of 10. But don't get me wrong, this build still has over 80,000 effective HP because of high armor, evasion, spell suppression and instant life leech. I just took the 2 points out because you're always very close to enemies, which puts you in a vulnerable position. And that's it guys! Stay tuned that I'll bring a lot more Crucible content several times per week. I wish you guys all the best and don't forget to keep building!